All right, so today we're going to be learning about how to calculate information about the excess reactant remaining. So this is part of our learning about limiting and excess reactants. So our problem says if 2.0 grams of ammonia, and that's right here, 2.0 grams of ammonia, is mixed with 4.0 grams of oxygen, that'll be right here, which is the limiting reactant. So this is going to basically start like a limiting reactant problem. So we're going to identify our initial amounts. So we have 2.0 grams of NH3. And what we want to do is we want to convert that into one of our products. It doesn't matter which product we do. For right now, let's just convert them both to moles of water. We could convert them to grams of water, but the last step, converting from moles to grams, is going to be the same for each, so we can compare them both in moles of water. You don't have to do grams of water, but you could, okay? So to get there, I need to start by converting my NH3 in grams to moles of NH3. So I'm going to use my molar mass to do that. Nitrogen is 14.01 grams per mole, and each hydrogen brings 1.01 grams per mole, so we're going to have a molar mass of 17.04 grams of NH3 to 1 mole NH3. Okay. We're then going to utilize our mole relationship, so we've got a 4 to 6 mole ratio. So I've got 4 moles of NH3 to 6 moles of water, and then I can calculate that out using my calculator. So I can do 2 times 6 divided by 17.04 divided by 4, and I get 0.176 moles of water can be produced from 2 grams of ammonia. So now I need to figure out how many moles of water can be produced from 4 grams of oxygen. So I'm going to start out with my 4.0 grams of oxygen over 1, and I need to convert that to moles. So O2 is 16.0 grams per mole times 2, so that would be 32 grams of oxygen per 1 mole of oxygen. And then I need to convert that oxygen to hydrogen. So we've got 5 moles to 6 moles. So we've got 5 moles of oxygen, and I put that in the bottom so it cancels out my numerator from the previous fraction. And then I've got 6 moles of water in the top. And so you'll notice when I cancel out my units, I get a unit of moles of H2O, which is the same as what I calculated in the first problem. So when I do 4 times 6 divided by 32 divided by 5, I get 0.15 moles of water. Okay, so what this tells us is my limiting reactant is the one with the smaller amount being produced, smaller amount of products produced. So that's going to be the O2. Okay, the NH3 is considered the excess reactant because there's extra of it. Okay, so for right now, the first step that I just needed to figure out was what's the limiting reactant between these two samples, and it would be oxygen. So using the same amounts as before and the same equation, it says how much excess reactant remains after the reaction has stopped. So what we need to do is we need to figure how much NH3 was used up, and then we can figure out how much NH3 is left over as a result of that, okay? So to do that, we're going to start with our limiting reactant of 4.0 grams of O2. And we're going to say, if we have a completely perfect reaction, how much NH3 do we need exactly to react with the 4 grams of oxygen? Okay. So I'm going to convert my grams of oxygen, which is the 4.0 grams of oxygen, 2 grams of NH3. Okay, so we'll start by converting to moles. I'm using my molar mass to do that. And then what's my mole relationship? Well, it's 5 moles of O2 to 4 moles of NH3. So I've got 5 moles of O2 to 4 moles of NH3. Okay. And then last step is converting from moles to grams using my mole map. So I've got 1 mole of NH3 to 17.04 grams of NH3. And so what this is going to tell us is the grams of NH3 used by the reaction, used up when I react it with exactly 4 grams of oxygen. So I've got 4 times 4 times 17.04, and then I divide by 32, and then I divide by 5. So it used up 1.70 grams of NH3. Okay. We started with 2 grams of NH3. So initially we had 2.0 grams of NH3. And so to figure out how much is left over, we just subtract out what was used. 1.7 grams of NH3 was used. Okay, that will give us 0.3 grams of NH3 must be left over or in excess. Okay, so how much excess reactant was there? There's 0.3 grams of NH3. Excellent. Thanks, everybody.